Weird. So when you find out that the 1800s, the 1800s were a weird time in Mormonism. But I mean, the women were just destitute, and I mean, so many women were alone. They weren't married to one man. It was a very bad situation for families. And if you're living in Utah, if you're born in Utah in the last 50 years, you don't realize how bad it was, because things change in this world. The bad things in the past are covered up. And so I realized that this last conference, the 2018 October conference, was kind of like an anti-Mormon conference. It was kind of like proof that the church isn't true. In the sense that if the church was true, and if there is a God, and it was run by Jesus and prophets and scripture and all these things, then no amount of anti-Mormon literature could dissuade anybody. And think about it. Think about yourself as a leader. If you had the one true product in the world. So let's say you had like the only technology that existed for a computer, to make a homemade computer, or the only technology for real milk, like raw milk, or the only herb that would be healthy for you, or just anything that you can think of. You would tell people to read the other stuff. You would tell people to go and look and listen to other people's viewpoints, because you would show faith in them. So this kind of thinking in Mormonism is really weird. It's really weird, because if you were that kind of leader, your people would have a lot of confidence in you. Your people would have confidence in themselves. And it's weird to think back to how I used to be. I used to be so afraid of the anti-Mormon stuff. I used to be so afraid, like, don't go read the anti-Mormon, don't go to Reddit, blah, 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 whatever. And it's like, I didn't have confidence in myself that I could go and read something that has a different viewpoint, especially a different viewpoint about the church, because I would just end up doubting and whatever. And it's like, what a weird, it lacks confidence. It lacks faith. That's what I'm saying. Like, the conference where they tell you, don't read anti-Mormon stuff. You might not think about it. You might not think about it. They might not even be thinking about it. But subconsciously, they're telling you, and you're thinking, I'm really weak. I'm really insecure. I can't handle somebody's attack. I can't handle somebody doing a book about Mormonism. And it's weird, because it's like, well, what are they going to be saying? What are the anti-Mormons going to be saying? What is the history going to be saying? Because if it's false, you should be able to tell whether it's false or not. I know what the answer is. The answer is, if you know the truth about the 1800s, you'll leave the church. That's really what it boils down to. But they're not going to say it that way. But it's really freaky. It's really crazy what's going on, because it's like, if our history is really the history of saints and prophets, it's awesome. It's like, you'll never leave, no matter what anybody says or writes or does. They should call people on missions to just They should just tell you, we want you to spend the next year reading everything you can about anti-Mormons, all the history and everything, so that you understand what people are thinking. And we know you won't fall away because the church is true, you know? But the fact that they're so scared of you reading outside material is a testimony that the church isn't true. And people need to realize that every single time they say, don't read outside material, they are testifying that it's not true. Do you understand what I'm saying? If something is true, like think about like things that are just like randomly true and that they don't even really matter. Like, I saw a bird over there. It's like, if that's true, then you can go look at the bird, or you can go ask somebody else, hey, did you see a bird? And they say, no, I didn't see a bird. You don't just say, well, somebody else said there's not a bird, so there's not a bird. I don't have faith anymore that there's a bird. It's like, you're not that dumb. Nobody is that dumb. But they are treating you like you're that dumb. You're so dumb that if you go and listen to somebody else's point of view outside the church and they say, oh, well, Joseph Smith was this, Joseph Smith was a pedophile, Brigham Young was a murderer. Oh, okay, I believe you. Well, you're not that dumb. Nobody's that dumb. You can hear, oh, Brigham Young was a murderer, he was tyrannical. You're gonna say, well, where's the proof? Okay, why do you think that? The General Conference of 2018 in October was the apostles testifying that the church isn't true. Because every time they say don't read outside material, it's because they're scared. It's because they know that you'll leave the church because you'll see how horrible Brigham Young and Joseph Smith were. If Brigham Young and Joseph Smith were really saints and really prophets and really said consistent things, they would have nothing to worry about. But me personally, I had the experience of reading my family's history, and I found out how horrible Brigham Young was. And that really freaked me out because I was like, he was doing things consistently bad to women, to families and stuff. And I'm like, what? I'm like, so Jesus likes this guy? It just seems to me like he's a real dick. But I might be wrong. So, I kept reading and I read other stuff and I thought about it. And I'm like, it was the 1800s. I mean, I don't know anything about the 1800s. I literally don't know anything about the 1800s. I've never read one history book on the 1800s. But through reading in Sacred Loneliness and other church books, history and stuff like that, it's like, wow. So I'm just saying, every time it's like this conference, of course, for the average member, they're not going to see it as an anti-Mormon conference. But I do. I see it as they're scared. They want you to be ignorant of the truth. So they are testifying that the church isn't true. Because if something is true, and especially if people have experience in something that's true, because think about it, most people that are watching General Conference have been on missions, they pay tithing, they read the scriptures. If you're talking to people who have experience in what you're talking about, you don't really need to tell them not to read outside sources unless the truth is being hidden. Because if they've been upfront with everything and they've told you the truth about history and the truth about Brigham Young and Joseph, then it's like they could just tell you, go have fun, go read whatever you want. Like, get your outside sources from everywhere. It's like, oh, well, also the women need to take a 10-day fast. Oh my gosh. The prophets know that the church isn't true.